Hey everyone, Chris Lopez here, and today I have got Derek Marlin back in the studio with me. And now Derek was on one of our podcast episodes where we talked about his journey into flipping and then part of his flipping process. So since that podcast, and a lot of our listeners have gone out and actually reached out to Derek, attended some classes. Some actually started the partnership flip program with him. And since then, too, Derek and I have become better friends. I've learned more about his business and his style and asked him to start coming on here to do some type of regular segment. Won't give you an exact frequency because you know how busy everyone gets. But hopefully we'll do a regular segment where it comes on here and talking about the whole flipping process. And what I like about Derek is he's very much, hey, let me peel back the curtain and show you what I'm doing and share a lot of information. And it's not just, hey, great, let me just give you a little bit and then try to sell you a course or sell you something like that. But it's actually giving away really, really good information. So what we're going to do in this episode and future ones is just dissect different segments of how he goes about his flipping process, because he is very systematized and process oriented, which I think is key for replicating success and also scaling. And also that's just how my mind is wired. So I like it. And I often, as you guys know, I am not a flipper, but I get lots of people ask me for flipping information. So I wanted to bring on one of the experts around town. So Derek, good to have you back, man.
Chris, thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
All right. So we're going to just dive straight into this. Okay. We have got your deal quick analysis spreadsheet.
Yep.
Up and running on the monitor.
Yes.
And if you guys are listening to this, we'll have the recording so you can come check it out as well. But we're definitely going to actually analyze a deal that you just purchased.
Yep, just bought it last week.
Run through the numbers.
Yep.
And I'm going to kind of let you just start telling us about it because you got a lot of spreadsheet stuff here. And before we jump into this, do you want to give context and there's just some like mindset numbers? Right. Or how do you want to dive in this? Because it's such an onion where there's so many layers we can go into.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I'll back up a little bit in that hopefully I would think people want to listen and find out about how we're getting to the decision of purchasing this specific property. So I'll give a little bit of metrics of how we get to this type of deal. We're obviously looking at a ton of stuff off market. We're looking at a number of properties on market. We're probably writing anywhere from 30 to 40 offers and or contracts to get to this type of property and product. And probably 2 to 3 we go under contract on, and then we keep 1. That would be kind of our basic numbers on the front end to get to this deal.
You're actually writing 30 to 40 offers.
Correct.
So backing up one more step, how many deals are you analyzing then?
Oh, that's a really good point. We are probably analyzing 20 to 25 deals a day, whether that's on the MLS, whether that's off-market opportunities, whether that's for sale by owners, rentals, you name it, the whole universe of potential properties, just looking at, 20 to 25 every single day.
And then what's the ratio? So just basically like, law of averages, this property you bought here in Greenwood Village, how many properties do you think you and your team analyzed to get through that whole funnel to get to this one deal?
Yeah, for this one deal, I'm trying to segment it for one deal versus we've got multiple projects going at once, but we probably really, really heavily looked for 2 to 3 weeks, 5 days a week, doing 20 to 25 deals that we're going to analyze to decide what we even want to write a contract on. So that's definitely, getting up there, probably 350 to 400 things coming across the desk to get to writing 30 to 40 contracts to getting, 1 or 2 under contract of what we might want to potentially proceed with.
Now, when you first got into flipping, this is a total side note here, did you think you'd be having to analyze 375 deals to find one property?
No, not at all. Especially in Denver, properties are just dropping out of the sky supposedly in Denver. So no, I did not think that I'd have to underwrite that many deals and look at that many deals. Little did I know, before I got into this, I was in finance, and I almost feel like I was an underwriter in the bond market versus the real estate market, but there's a lot of parallels, and I didn't know I'd be looking at that many deals every day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by it. It's still always like I know those numbers, but when I hear people talk, I'm like, man, it's a lot of numbers. You forget about it, but you gotta go through numbers to find the deals.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what's the average time it takes you to analyze it? Because I'm assuming you're probably doing a quick pass. You're probably not doing a full 3-hour underwriting or anything.
No, it's myself and my team. We've got a great acquisitions manager, Sierra. And so a lot of what we do is the very basic way to look at it is for a traditional rehab for us, that's a project where we're not popping the top. We're not doing scrape. We're kind of primarily working with existing square footage. Is you are looking at about $140,000 in spread from where we're buying it to where we think we can sell it on the back end. So
you're talking just gross numbers,
just
there.
Complete gross numbers.
So if you buy it for 100, you're looking to sell it for 240.
240. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. So that's your 5-minute analysis. You got to make sure that you can start to know areas, know neighborhoods, know where that 140K spread is for a 2 to 3 month project. That gets you a 5-minute analysis. And then after that, if it starts to get close, then you dive in and really start focusing more heavily in on the comps, the layout of the home, going, looking at everything in grave detail.
Now, when you say looking at everything, do you mean physically going and looking at the property or still just doing more computer research?
More computer research. Okay. Yeah, primarily computer research.
And how long does that take? So that step 2 of the process, how long does that take roughly?
Yeah. So then if you get to something where you've got the 140K spread, you're starting to click through pictures, you're starting to put together basic budget numbers for rehab, you're probably 15 to 20 minutes into a project. If it takes you that amount of time to, let's say, look at the average, if it's an MLS listing, 20 photos, looking at each for a couple of minutes, deciding, do we need to do the kitchen? Do we need to do the bathroom? Do we need to add a master? What's the square footage? So somewhere in that ballpark. Online.
So I actually want to start adding up the time here. So let's just round up.
Yeah.
This will be a little high, but let's say you do 400 quick analyses.
Yeah.
That's 5 minutes
5
each,
minutes.
right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So that's 5 minute.
Yep.
And then now those 400, how many get to that step 2 of the deal analyzing funnel?
That's a good question. Not that many. I mean, we're probably at roughly a quarter of that.
Okay. So we'll say about 100.
Yeah, just about 100.
Make math easy for me.
Yeah. There you go.
So step 2. And then that is, you said about 15 minutes?
Yep. About 15 minutes.
Okay, great. So then what's the next step then? So you look through those and something says, oh, wow, this looks interesting. What's the next step you and your team do?
Then after that, we're typically talking to the seller, be it on the market, if it's an agent, or if it's an off the market, directly to the seller, and starting to talk numbers as far as where we need to buy it within a certain range. Primarily, people obviously don't want to show their cards and give you their exact number, which we respect and understand. So our strategy is typically to, let's get it to about a $10,000 to $20,000 range. Are we close enough to either A, go look at the property, or B, have them entertain an offer? We want to be respectful of people and make sure that we're close before we waste anybody else's time.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as we can get to that on a phone call, then we're typically getting ready to go look at the property.
So that's probably got to be another, 15 minutes on the phone, especially when you're taking phone tag and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And how many of those 100 properties you analyzed at step 2 make it to step 3, do you think?
Probably about 15 or so make it to step 3.
Okay.
Yeah, about 15 properties.
Okay. And then that's times 15 minutes.
Yep.
Okay. And then I'm assuming step 4 is go walk the property?
Yeah, step 4 is go walk the property. If it's an off-market opportunity, then we typically are going to walk the property and potentially not have it under contract at that point. If it's an on-market opportunity, we try to get at least half of those under contract, as long as we're both really close, and then we're going to verify what they've put in the pictures or what they may have said.
So you try to lock it up before you go walk it, huh?
Yeah, half the time we try to lock it up before we go walk it, because we physically don't have the time to walk 50 properties a week.
Yeah.
So we do try to probably lock up half of them to make sure we're on the same page. And again, it's all about, we tell our prospective clients up front, we're verifying what you're telling us. Many times that might not be true, and it is what it is. And so we just deal with it. But we try to be transparent to them up front to say, okay, if you say it's only 2 or 3 years old and the furnace is actually 27 years old, then I'm still interested in your house. I probably just can't pay you as much.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Plus, I mean, that's got to, because I know there's a lot of people that say, oh, yeah, we could go in that range. And then when you actually write the contract, it's very different.
Right.
So that's a great, not a time saver. It's probably also a good way to make sure people are are talking reality.
Yeah, we all want to be realistic because it's a waste of their time. It's definitely a waste of our time. So we got to be just close into the ballpark before we go out and inspect a property or try to put something under contract.
So you walk a property, and that's at least an hour with driving and going out there.
Correct.
And I don't know how detailed you guys are when you walk through, but
yeah,
I think you're probably more on the thorough side than not, knowing you, right?
We are. We've got a great operations manager, Alex, and so he comes with us as well. And so we have a quick rehab sheet. It's essentially one piece of paper that gives us about 85 to 90% accuracy on what the rehab budget should be. Myself and our acquisitions manager use that when we go walk it. And then our ops manager is kind of trailing behind us with a very detailed 5 to 6 page analysis to make sure you get every piece of square footage measured to decide what style of rehab we want to do so that we can be sensitive to that person's time. You're right. We only want to be in a home about a half an hour, maybe 40 minutes max. And then we go back to the office and truly calculate what the rehab's going to be with all of your details.
Okay. And so how many of those properties, so you said you had about 15 phone calls with prospective sellers, agents, whatever.
Yep.
How many of those do you typically go up walking, do you think, to go find a deal?
2 or 3.
Okay.
Because again, we only want to see stuff that's either really good on paper or we're close.
Okay. So I'm just doing some math here. And I'm asking these questions. I find it very interesting, but also I think it's a good reality check for people that want to get into flipping because there's a lot of due diligence stuff there.
Yes.
And just adding all this stuff up, and guys, take these numbers with a grain of salt, and you probably want to double check my math.
Right.
But if you do 400 quick passes at 5 minutes each, that's 2,000 minutes. Then 100, and the next step, you're doing 100 15-minute analysis. That's 1,500 minutes. Then you're talking to 15 prospective sellers or agents times 15 minutes. That's 225 minutes. Now let's just say you go walk 2 properties. That's 120 minutes for that. So altogether, that's 3,845 minutes, which turns out to be 64 hours.
Yep.
I mean, it's a good chunk of time.
That sounds about right. Because when I was starting out myself and I was a one-man band, you're working 60 to 70 hours a week minimum to do it yourself. And now I'm, fortunate to have a team that we've got and we're continuing to build out so you can scale a bit. But it's a 60-hour week job to get good deals.
And that's before you've even written an offer.
Yes.
You're not swinging a hammer or hiring someone to swing a hammer.
Very true.
So I just want to highlight that because I don't think people realize how much time goes into whether you're marketing or you're connecting with people, whatever variation of this. It takes a lot of time up front just to even get a couple really good deals coming your way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Very true.
And then I'm assuming out of that, you walk 2 or 3 properties and one of those turns into something like what we're about to analyze, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. So let's jump into the analysis.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. This is one we just bought last week. It is a property. Greenwood is a street. It's in Littleton, Colorado. I love this property because it's a mid-century modern. I'm a huge proponent of those style of homes. I personally enjoy them. We feel that there's a nice little premium on the back end for people if you do them right that are willing to pay a bit of a premium for a well-done mid-century modern property. And it's a pretty nice size property. Right now it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom. We'll put another bedroom in and make it a 5-3. And just bought it last week.
Okay. So just tell me what we're seeing here, because this is the first time I've seen the spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's a lot of info.
And feel free to grab. I'm passing the mouse and the keyboard over to Derek, who's sitting next to me.
Perfect.
So I see up top you've got just the basic address, start date, end date, bed, bath, square feet.
Yep.
So basic property information.
Correct. Yep. And then we jump into what our purchase price is going to be. This top row is really kind of our gospel as far as what we're looking at and how we're analyzing our deals. We look at 3 different areas. In order of importance for us is we look at this first one, dollars per day. This is how much net profit are we making every day that we hold the property. That one is most important to us because we want to operate on speed. So a lot of times we'll have opportunities that come our way and you've got multiples at the same time. You have to decide which ones you truly want to keep, which ones you might want to partner with somebody on, which ones are a little bit too thin for you. But actually in our world, I do none of the work and our team does none of the work. We work with great contractors. We work with other partners and clients that do some work themselves. So they've got a little better spread in there. Those are projects that we might sell off to other investors. Again, we got to do it relatively quickly. Then for us,
so sorry, let me interrupt. So you're not populating this. This is all populated from the data down here.
Exactly.
Okay. So this is almost like your summary tab up here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly. This is our summary tab. These color coordinated cells right here get populated based on the data that you put in. The second one that we look at is actually overall profit. So this is your true net profit on what you're doing on a project. We still want to know ROI, but ROI is third on our list because of the time frame. We'll typically look at it in that we'll take a little bit lower ROI if we can do it relatively quickly. If it's a project where we're going to be in it for, let's say, 6 to 9 months, which we don't do a lot of. We're usually in and out in 2 to 4 months. We would need a 15% plus return. But these are the 3 areas that we're looking at to decide, is it a good deal? And if it is, and we've got multiple deals coming down the pipeline, which ones do we want to proceed forward with?
So I'm really curious because, ROI, many people have different ways to measure ROI. Are you doing just simple ARV minus purchase price divide by purchase price?
Yeah, exactly. So this one is backed into, what is your true net return on investment? So that's every dollar that you've got into the project.
Now, is that the total purchase amount or what you're putting down as a hard money down payment, or what exactly?
That's a good point. So for us, we buy in cash.
Okay.
And so we are spending this $417,000 that is cash that we're spending. So that's money in the deal. For us, this $68,000 rehab number, that's money we're spending in our own cash. This is some of the carrying costs that we have on the back end because we work off of a business line of credit. So I want to buy cash to the sellers to make their lives easy, but then we're typically going to have an interest rate associated with the money that we're borrowing.
So go through these numbers as you click, because a lot of people are can't see it necessarily. Sure. So for this property itself, you bought it for $417,000.
$417. Yep.
With an ARV of $574,900. So we'll say $575 to keep it simple.
Yep.
And then your rehab budget is $68,500.
Correct.
Give us a ballpark. What is that? I mean, that's more than just paint and carpet, obviously. Yes. What are you doing in this house?
Yeah, it definitely is more than paint and carpet. What we usually do to analyze an opportunity is we start with the major systems first. Those are obviously your most expensive ones. So in this particular project, it does need a new roof. It does need a furnace. It does need a hot water heater. It needs a handful of windows, doesn't need all the windows, does need a, let's see, what else do we have? I believe on this one, no, it's good on sewer line, but a lot of the bigger ticket items, not a structural item per se, but in these cool mid-century boners, there's got load-bearing walls that run down the middle of the home in the basement. We are opening that up. So we're more than likely going to have to do an 8-foot LVL beam to help carry that load. So we're opening up the basement a little bit. So you've got, a good chunk of change in those 4 to 5 areas right off the bat that get you, in that $68,000 range.
And then probably the normal stuff, new kitchen and update the bathrooms and.
Correct. Yeah. On this one, we're 100% updating the kitchen, doing all of the bathrooms, retexturing the entire home, refinishing the hardwood floors. The mid-mod homes, we feel that it's a nice aesthetic too. Instead of doing tile on the kitchen floor, we actually lace in hardwoods. This one doesn't have hardwoods in the kitchen, so there's a fair amount of hardwood work. And then overall, this must have been from another deal that we looked at. It's actually 2,700 square feet total for this home. So another way that we get an initial rehab when we're just plugging in our numbers and doing the quick analysis is you put in your overall rehab per square foot, and it kicks out an estimate of $33 a square foot.
Okay.
So it helps us to know when we're analyzing lots of these deals, you get close, you make sure you're at about $140,000 or more in overall spread. you put in the square footage, and then that gets you this $72,000 estimate just to make sure that you're close. Because a lot of times, especially when you have a lot of square footage, it starts to blow the budget. And either A, you have to get the property for less money, or you've got to make sure you're appropriately managing your rehab costs.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And then your holding cost, your line of credit, what, about 6.5% annual interest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we're borrowing it at 6.5% interest. I know a lot of people have 100% of their own cash and have no carry costs. Some people are borrowing privately, between 8 to 10%. Some people are doing hard money. So if we were to analyze this on behalf of a client, we would add the points that they're paying in here, and that would be another line item expense over here. And then our big one too is how long is the project actually going to take us? That is a huge component for us, because not only does it calculate the amount of holding cost and interest we're paying, but it really goes back to this dollars per day and hopefully has us in the green versus the yellow or the red.
Okay. And so, totally off topic here, but
Yeah.
I mean, you got a Wall Street background. You can't call up Wall Street buddies and borrow at 3% like the big guys do.
I wish that I could. I'm not quite there. I don't have a big enough portfolio yet to be able to do that. I know a lot of people that do, though. Actually, something that a lot of people I think should look into. I'm 42, so I don't quite have the tenure. We're slowly starting to put extra money away personally, but people. They look at the equity side when you talk about Wall Street, but they don't look at the fixed income side. And what a lot of people can do is you can have a fixed income or a portfolio of bonds that are paying you, if they're municipal, they're actually tax-free versus some of them might be taxable. And you're generating income off of that. But then every big bank out there will lend to you at anywhere from 50 to 70 cents on the dollar to give you a line of credit.
On the bonds?
On the bonds. Now, they're collateralized by those bonds. So if you're going to make a mistake and everything goes sideways, they're going to take those bonds from you. So it's very, very serious. But there's a couple of savvy, shouldn't say couple, probably a lot of savvy investors and folks that we talk to. We're trying to set it up ourselves where if you have $1 million bond portfolio, and that's generating, 5%, you've got a nice return there coming in, but then you can get a $500,000 line of credit that you can use for your real estate. Obviously, you're paying, let's call it 3 to 5% interest, but that's pennies on the dollar compared to what other people are borrowing.
Yeah, I mean, that's
you're
a
double
third
dipping
of hard money right there.
Exactly.
Wow.
So yeah, people really need to look at that. And big banks, your Wells Fargo's, your B of A's, if you've got brokerage accounts going through the Merrills, the TD Ameritrades, they will be very aggressive with these bond portfolios.
And the average, individual investor with a big enough portfolio can just call up their bank or brokerage. Yep. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was really cool.
Yeah, definitely something to look into.
Okay.
Yep. So for us, we're kind of in that mid-range of financing and borrowing costs. We also do a contingency on our projects. And for the straightforward kind of quick condos and townhomes where you feel like you've got a pretty good handle on not having a lot of unknowns, we do a 5% contingency, which is reflected here. And again, another cost that's coming out of your profit. If it is a traditional home, kind of 1970s and newer, where you've got a decent handle on what you might get into for unknowns, we do an 8% contingency. This home is older and it's bigger, so we're definitely going to do a 10% contingency to add. So our rehab budget is really 68.5 plus, and this, 6,850 for an extra contingency.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then scrolling back through on the end, again, we do this for ourselves and we do this for our clients. So everybody has different variables. Sometimes you're going to pay commissions on the buy side, where any way we can come across a good opportunity, whether it's working with agents, whether it's paying referral fees, whether it's paying commissions, as a traditional buyer, if you're buying on the market, you're not going to pay that commission. So in this instance, it's reflected as a zero. We've got a team member on staff that is a licensed agent. So we sell kind of internally, if you will, but that's going to be anywhere from, 3 to 6%, depending upon who you're working with. But you really do have to calculate how much you're paying in insurance for a project. Are there closing costs to you as the buyer? Many times to help get a deal done, people think that closing costs are more expensive than they might be. We'll pay closing costs and then use a hold open policy on the back end so that your closing costs are pretty reasonable on the back end. referral fees. We work with a lot of people in the senior space and the moving space. So if somebody's got a job transfer and they got to get out of here, I'm happy to pay people referral fees of people that are sending leads our way. And then inspection, which for us, we always do a sewer scope every time we look at a property. And if it's something that potentially has issues, we do a structural engineer. So you've got all of these expenses that total out to your 522. And then with selling it at roughly 575, that's where you get your overall net.
So that's your profit.
Yeah,
then.
that's the net profit on this specific project.
And I'm just noticing now, and I did not see this, but kind of in the same summary area.
Yeah.
You've got the client profit and the elevation profit. So this must be for one of your partnership flip deals.
Yep. This was one. We actually ended up keeping this one ourselves because we had the capital available, but we've got a program called the partnership flip, and that's where we team up with another investor. They would essentially, if it was from a training perspective, fund the purchase of the property. So they'd be putting down the $417,000. We'd be spending our money on the rehab and all of the carrying costs, the budget contingency. And then in this instance, we'd be doing a 50-50 split with our clients. So we help teach them how to flip. We're making all the decisions. We know what works in this flipping space. And in this instance, we're doing a 50-50 profit share on the back end for our partnership flip.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is on this tab. This is your 5-minute quick analysis. Is this what you described 20 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago?
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And so you're basically just filling out what about those 10 or 15 line items? I mean, purchase price, rehab budget.
Yeah. There, it's not that many things. So yeah, you're doing purchase price. You're doing what you think you can sell it for on the back end. Again, if you put in this square footage number, it's pre-populating what the rehab estimate should be at $35 or $33 a square foot. Again, a lot of our stuff is not truly cosmetic in nature. So I'm sure some people are listening going, oh my gosh, those guys are paying too much. For us, that usually includes the roof. That's the furnace, might be a sewer line, might be an electrical panel, things of that nature. You double check your budget based on looking at it for the photos to make sure that the budget is, the rehab is realistic. How many variables are potentially in this property? So you're doing 5 to 8 to 10%, changing 2 or 3 of these variables down here of what you got to sell it for. So yeah, you're inputting 8 different numbers to get you your overall returns to decide if this is a good deal overall that you should write an offer on. Okay.
I mean, this looks very, very clean and very simple.
Yes.
I don't mean that in like, in a bad way, but like this, I mean, that makes sense to me for that high level path. Such what you got to do. Yep. And then it gives you a really, really quick glance. So then going back, so you're looking for that 140 spread total.
Correct.
So if ARV is greater than 140 over purchase price, boom, you're moving to the next step, which is that deeper level analysis.
Yep.
Okay. I know you got a second tab on the spreadsheet called budget. Is that part of the analysis, or is it actually for once you start the project? Where does that come into play?
No, this one is one that what we'll do is we'll put together a overall budget for the project. And this is after we've walked it. And what we use this for is we put it under contract, we walk it, we put together our own budget. We've got really good contractors that we're working with so that we essentially give them this sheet of paper and say, hey, this is roughly where we have the project. This is our overall scope of work. Are we short in an area? How potentially are we spending too much in an area, or can you get it done for a better price? And you come to terms with your contractor on making sure that this budget works. And we do that in between when we've got it under contract and when we're closing to make sure that our numbers truly work.
Cool. All right. Well, we will dive into this on a future episode because this is a very detailed, and we want to keep these episodes very, very specific and very focused, so we can build up a library so people come back and review it to learn. So I know we will get this question asked, but it's not already asked. People are going to say, Derek, can I get a copy of your spreadsheet? And the answer is yes, no.
We're very open to sharing with folks. I think we look at it as an individual case-by-case basis. So when people reach out to us, we're looking to build relationships to either work with people, partner with people, buy from people, over time sell to people. We can handle anywhere from 4 to 6 projects at one time. Once we go over that at our current staffing levels, then we're going to sell some of these off to other folks. So I guess the answer is yeah, we're very open to that. As far as me just throwing it out there, I'm not doing that quite yet. But when people reach out, we want to build these relationships and create value for folks.
So I'm gonna give people out there a hint, because I get a ton of emails through my Denver investment real estate website, and a lot of them great. Actually, I'll say about half are great. Half are great, half are good,
Right.
half are not good. I know that math doesn't add up. You get my point there. Don't just say, Derek, send me the spreadsheet. Thanks, Chris. Like,
Yes.
I get people like, I'm like, dude, come on, just like be nice, be polite, build the relationship. So just hint, like, the real estate industry is incredibly small in whatever market you're in. And the more I'm in Denver, the more I'm amazed every month at how small. It's like, oh, you know this guy, this guy, and this person. Wow, okay, I know them too.
Right.
So this is where relationships definitely come into play. Whether you do or deal or not, you never know where that relationship leads to something else. You're like, oh yeah, I met that guy. He seems good. I would definitely follow up with him again. Like it's a small one.
Yeah.
So definitely spend the time to build the relationship. And I mean, just a little off topic here, Derek, just what do you look for in building relationships? I mean, do you have like a specific set of questions you ask for people, or what tips can you give people that just want to get into flipping? Because, so much of flipping is who do you know, because who can pass you along a deal versus being on some wholesaler's email list that sends you an email blast and says, hey, in 31 minutes, we're having an open house. First come, first serve to buy the place. Those I want to consider like typically the best deals. But, I see, hey, when people have a deal, they call a few people, and that's a lot of times how good deals are done. We're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off.
Gotcha.
So how can people start building relationships just with you, with other people around town? Like, what are some general tips you have?
For me, I would just say be open and honest with what are your intentions. So whether you are just starting out and you want to learn what's going on, then that's great. Just tell me that, or tell the people that you're talking to that. Again, I started in 2009. So I was new then, and then I started in rentals, and then started doing flips in 2014. Everybody starts at a different point in their career. So that's great. Give me some background on your goals. Are you the person who wants to learn and do one flip a year to help put money aside for, your kid's college, or go on a great vacation or something? Or do you want to truly scale this into a business? So just be upfront, I think, and honest with people of what your intentions are. And then both company and personally, our mantra is to provide full circle value to our clients, to our business partners, and to all of our sellers. So just put yourself in a value state of mind and just say, hey, what can I offer this person? Even if you're new to the industry, it might be a banking contact. It might be hey, my neighbor is potentially thinking about selling their house. Just whatever it is, just say, how can you be of value to somebody else? And then the third way I'd say it is when I very first got into rentals, I worked with an amazing company called R Investments, and they're still around, and whether you call that a plug or not, but they are fantastic. And their owner, Travis, one of his company philosophies is just always leave meat on the bone. And that's what we do too, because you brought up a perfect point. Denver, it's a big city, but it is a small town. And so if you just provide good value to people, you don't try to squeeze every last penny out of something, then you're going to do lots of business with lots of people. And that's just how we look at it. So don't try to hit a home run on every deal. Just hit lots of doubles and, high five people as you're on the base, and you'll be fine, and you'll do a ton of business.
I like that analogy. High fiving around the base.
Yeah. Why not?
I'm going to start borrowing that one. Great. Well, we just wanted to keep this episode mostly on deal analysis and a couple tangents that are just applicable to this. And on future episodes, we'll definitely dive into the next steps in the process. And we'll always try to relate what we're talking about back to a current deal, whether it's a recent deal or one currently under progress. So Derek, from your perspective, any final thoughts or things you want to cover before we wrap up the first episode?
Yeah, I would just say that the other thing is that preceding this type of spreadsheet, which I think you made a great point. We made this simple on purpose so that not only can we teach with it, but we can just use it in day-to-day lives. I actually originally had a much more complex spreadsheet, and there was a lot of brain damage to it. So it's like, let's just boil it down to what are the real metrics and what are the real numbers. But before that, you got to think of where are you in your career or your starting out career when it comes to real estate investing, and what's good for you. So, when I very first started, this would have been a phenomenal deal as far as overall profit, dollars per day, and ROI is decent. So you just got to think of what works for you. How much time do you have to spend on these type of projects? Again, do you want to do it as an aside for supplemental income, or do you want to build a true business on it? So, do you have a supportive partner in the mix with you, or spouse or significant other that is supportive in you achieving your real estate goals? So you got to think of like, what do you want out of this before these numbers really mean anything to you? Because you could have this huge profit, but if it's a, 2-year project and you've got a corporate job and 4 kids at home, like that might not work. So you got to kind of back up the truck a little bit and think about what do you want kind of out of life, if you will, and then reflect that into your investment philosophy.
Great. And so, Derek, I know you actually are teaching some classes here at the main Castle office. Yeah. Just the classes a lot of our listeners have been to.
Yeah.
Actually just taught one, I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. Yep.
So definitely go out to the Castle trading calendar, my trading calendar. We do post those, but you also started a meetup recently, right?
Yeah, we did. We started a meetup through our company, Elevation. So we're doing that once a month. We've got our next one coming up here this coming Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m. At our shared workspace. And so there'll be information, or there's actually already is information on our company Facebook page and our Instagram account, Elevation Invest, about a meetup. And it's just about people. Primarily, it does lean a little towards folks that have a bit of experience, but we're always open to, people that want to get into the industry. But it really is people that, again, are there to provide value to folks, not to just try to come and sell something or sell a deal. Everybody's got opportunities, and that will come up organically, but it's just a way that you can come back and have a drink and get something to eat and network with other very active people in the real estate space.
Perfect. And if people would like to start a relationship with you to get the spreadsheet, should they come to the meetup, email you? Yeah. What's a good way?
Either way is great. Come to the meetup or email me. My email is derek@elevationinvest.com, and my name is spelled DEREK at elevationinvest.com. And yeah, people can shoot me an email, reach out to me directly, give me a call. I do still actually use the phone, so you can call. I'll take a call. You'll text, come to the meetup, whatever. We just want to build relationships.
Awesome. All right, Derek, thank you.
Chris, thanks for having me.